Yes, hello, can you hear me? Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so screen is visible, right?
Yes, sir.
Let's start. So last class we discussed the first law and concept of energy, and we said that energy is a property of the system. Okay, so it depends on a state. So although you can use work done and heat transfer are also work, of course they are also the energies forms of energy. Work done and heat transfer are not the property of the system, whereas the energy is internal energy is the property of the system. Okay, so the first law leads to the realization of existence of a some property called energy, right? The zeroth law leads to existence of a property called temperature, right? In zeroth law, what you say? See, if a body, if two bodies are at same thermal level, they will be in a thermal equilibrium, right? So that means there is something which defines the state of the system, which says that they will be in equilibrium or not, right? That means thermal, where they are at same thermal level means what is that property, right? Something is there, right, which defines the state, that particular state. That is known as temperature. So that is how the concept of temperature came into existence. Otherwise, earlier people used to say whether it is hot or cold, but there was no standard to measure the hotness or coldness. So this the concept of temperature brought a certain quantification of the hot or cold, how you quantify this, the hot or coldness of any material. Earlier it was relative. Something is hot than other. Right? So it has to be a relative. But now they brought something, an absolute property which will define the state, the thermal state of a material. So similarly, first law leads to the realization of an existence of a property that is known as an internal energy. Okay. So we discussed in the last class about in detail. We said energy is a property of the system. Okay. So same thing I have brought once again. All this we discussed already in the last class. Same thing just to recap. So energy is an extensive property. The specific energy E is equal to small e divided by m is an intensive property. The cyclic integral of the property is 0 because final state is identical to initial state. So if you take cyclic integral of dE, it will be equal to 0. This is cyclic integral for any property is the same. Suppose if you take temperature, cyclic integral of dt, it will be 0. Cyclic integral of pressure dP, it will be 0. Cyclic integral of dV, it will be 0. Cyclic integral of the free energy, Gibbs free energy, du will be cyclic integral of enthalpy will also be 0. Cyclic integral of the entropy will also be 0. Yeah, it is true for any property of a system, right? Next is, so we said different forms of energy stored. If we said, but there is a energy is in two forms. One is energy in transition, energy in storage, right? Energy in transition, there are two types. One is work transfer and heat transfer. Energy in storage, again we said there are two ways a system can store energy. One is the macroscopic energy, other one is a microscopic energy, right? So let us look at these different forms of energies, when how they are get stored in the material. Any material will have energy in it. If you take any material, it will have energy stored in it, right? A material can be thought of a repository, right? A storage or a bank of energy. Okay, any material will have some energy. Okay? So you can add and remove from material, can be added to a material, taken out of a material. Any mass, when I say mass, any material means what? Something that has got mass. Anything that has mass will have energy stored in it. So if you consider, let us consider gas. Gas particles are there, or fluid particles are there. Not necessarily gas, liquid or gas, anything. They have small. If you know, all of us know that these fluids, gases or liquids are made up of small atoms or molecules, right? Any gas or the liquid, if you look at what it is made up of some molecules or atoms. So these molecules or atoms are free, right? they're freely moving inside, randomly moving. They have some kinetic energy. That is, you have studied in kinetic theory of gases, right? They'll be moving with certain velocity. So let us consider a gas or a liquid that is flowing in a channel, right? So this is a flowing in a channel. We have a gas particles, right? They are moving, right, in some direction. Random, but this bulk of the fluid is moving in one direction. But if you look at a microscopically, if you zoom and see, the atoms or molecules will be randomly moving in all directions. Correct? Bulk fluid is flowing in certain direction. Okay? But if you look at individual atoms, they will have a random motion in all directions, all three directions. Okay? So random thermal motion of molecules or atoms will be there in a fluid. So if you take a small mass of that fluid, right? This mass of fluid has a random motion of molecules, and this mass is a fluid mass is at a certain height from the ground. Right? It is at a certain elevation. Okay. Mass m, which consists of fluid particles, and these particles are moving randomly in all directions. Bulk of the mass is moving in a direction called a v. Right? The bulk of this mass is moving in a direction v, in this direction. It has got a mass m. If you look at this mass microscopically, it has got atoms or molecules which are randomly moving in all directions. And this mass is at a height of a z. Okay? So I want to do the analysis of it. Let us see. The symbol of E refers to total energy stored in the system. Now, E is energy stored in the system. And we know that energy is stored in different forms. What are those different forms? Let us look at them. So if you took a look at that, basically there are two modes in which energy may be stored. First one is macroscopic energy mode. Already we have discussed this already. Macroscopic mode is by virtue of the motion, by virtue of position, configuration. There are three types of there. How the macroscopic energy can be stored. So microscopic energy is random motion of atoms. Then not only random motion of atoms, there are so many other things are there that we'll see later. This microscopic energy we use symbol U. Okay, total energy is called E. Microscopic energy is having a symbol of U. Right. So therefore we can write. Right. So what we can write? E is equal to total energy is equal to Ek plus Ep plus U. Okay, what is U? U is microscopic energy mode, and E is total energy. Then what is Ek and Ep? Can anybody say what is this Ek and Ep? Yes.
Kinetic energy, potential energy, and
okay.
energy.
And Eb is
potential energy.
Potential energy. Right. So macroscopic forms of energy, there are three types: kinetic energy, potential energy, and configuration energy. Configuration energy I have ignored. So what I'm saying is, when I ignore configuration energy, I am ignoring the field, the gravitational field, the effect of gravitational field, or a magnetic field. All those things, if you ignore them, then not gravitational field. Potential energy is taken care by the gravitational field is taken care by potential energy. The other kind of energies, like if there is electrical field, or if there is a magnetic field, or if the configuration is changed, is stretched. So those things I'm ignoring in absence of such things. So macroscopic energy, there are only two types, because most of the practical applications you won't find this the configuration energy will not be there. Okay, so that usually we ignore. If there is, then it has to be considered. Okay, in many practical applications, it is not required. Therefore, we are not considering here. That doesn't mean it is no configuration. Configuration is energy is there, but it's only special type of applications you find. Only then you have to use. Okay, we are ignoring a configuration energy. Okay, is that clear here? Total energy E is a sum of macroscopic energy plus microscopic energy. Clear? This is microscopic energy. Then macroscopic energy. Macroscopic energy, there are three types, but I'm ignoring configuration energy. I'm only considering kinetic and potential energy. Okay. So I can write like this. So what is Ek? Ek is a mass. What is mass is there? Mass into its velocity. I know the velocity, which is moving. So mass into velocity square divided by k will give you kinetic energy. What is potential energy? Mass into g, acceleration due to gravity, and the z, elevation, at what height it is from the ground. So these two can be easily calculated. Potential, the macroscopic energies are easy to calculate. Very simple, two equations. Most of the times it is only these two equations, unless there is configuration. Energy, suppose magnetic field is there, or there is a stretched film or a compressed spring. Such applications you have to consider that. Otherwise, you don't need to consider. Only you have to consider the macroscopic, the kinetic energy and the potential energy. Okay, is that clear to you? Any confusion here? Okay, if there are no confusions, let us go. Energy is there. Energy has two types. Has two components: macroscopic energy and microscopic energy. Macroscopic energy, we write it as Ek and Dp plus microscopic energy. Microscopic energy. What is microscopic energy? At microscopic level, at atomic level, at molecular level, there will be energy associated with the mass or matter. What is that? How to estimate it? So let us see what are the possible microscopic energies are there. Microscopic energy refers to energy stored in a molecular atomic structure of system, which is called molecular internal energy or internal energy. Normally, the word internal energy is used for the microscopic energy. Sometimes it is called molecular internal energy, and sometimes they simply refer it as internal energy. Whenever we say internal energy, its meaning is the molecular energy. U means internal energy. Matter is composed of molecules. Molecules are in a random thermal motion with an average velocity, constantly colliding with one another and with the walls. So we know that kinetic theory of gases you have studied, right? These molecules in fluids, they are randomly moving. They are in a constant state of motion, thermal motion, and it depends on the average velocity of these atoms. It depends on temperature that you have studied in the kinetic theory of the gases, right? You derived an equation for average velocity, average kinetic energy of the molecules in terms of temperature, right? So molecules are in a random motion with an average velocity, constantly colliding with one another. They keep colliding with one another and with the walls, right? When they collide with the walls, you get pressure. How do you get pressure? Pressure comes from the fluid and particles. When they collide, they bombard on the walls of a container. They generate pressure. Okay, so you don't find it in solids. Solids don't generate any pressure, right? Have you seen any solid generating pressure? No, because they are not moving. Molecules are fixed in a solid. They are rigid, right? So solids, atoms are not moving, right? Only in liquids and in the only in liquids and in gases, molecules or atoms are moving. Okay. So now what are the energies associated with these atoms when they are moving or otherwise also? When they are not moving also. So there is some energies there. What is that? Different types of energies are associated with the atoms or molecules. So due to collision, molecules may be subjected to rotation as well as vibrations. They can have. So when these atoms are there, they can, suppose if it is a spherical atom, we don't have problem. Suppose it is a diatic atom, triatomic atom. What will happen? The atom, the molecule is moving, so it has got its kinetic energy. Then when molecules collide, the one molecule that may lead to, it may spin around it, right? Some axis, right? It can rotate. Rotational kinetic energy that will lead to rotational kinetic energy because a molecule is rotating around an axis, some axis, right? Or a molecule is translation; it is moving in from one location to other location. That is a translation kinetic energy. So when it is rotating, you get a rotational kinetic energy, right? M. Hello. Who is that? Please switch off your audio. Someone is disturbing here. All of you are mute your audio. So then, if there are two molecules combined, when we say bonds, when the molecules combine, atoms combine to form a molecule, when they are bonded together, these bonds are not strictly rigid, right? The bond length can vary, increase and decrease under external influences. If a force is applied, bond length or a distance between two atoms in a molecule, suppose you have a H2O, right? Three atoms are there. Two atoms of hydrogen and one atom of oxygen. The distance between H and O is not rigid, strictly speaking. It is flexible, right? The atoms will move. The distance between H and O atom will depend will change in a small amount depending on external stimulus. If there's a pressure or a tensile force applied, when these atoms or molecules collide, those atoms will vibrate about a mean position. Okay, so there will be vibrational energy. Electronic energy, you know that electron, when an electron is at a certain distance from nucleus, there is energy associated with it, right? So when if it is at a far away place, infinite distance, it has got a large energy. As it comes near to the nucleus, it loses its energy. So you have seen this excitation of atoms. When when atom falls from a higher energy state to lower energy state, what happens? It loses energy. So when it loses energy, what it does? It gives up photons, energy in the form of electromagnetic waves or photons, right? Chemical energy, chemical potential is there when the valency of a material is filled, right? So electronegative and electropositive nature is there. So when chemical reactions happen, there is some energy is associated with it. Whenever bond is formed, bond is broken, there is a chemical energy associated with bond formation. Nuclear energy, the nucleus has got certain energy, right? So when this nucleus changes, chemistry of the nucleus changes, you know that energy is released. So that's what happens in your this atomic bombs. Atomic bomb, what happens? Reaction happens, right? Nucleus is bombarded with a neutron, so the nucleus, unstable nucleus, splits into one or two smaller nuclei. When this nuclear reaction happens, the smaller nuclei have got a lower energy compared to the big nucleus, the large atom. So therefore, what happens in a nuclear reaction? Energy is released, right? So that the nuclear bomb or nuclear power plants, this fact is made use. Okay. So like this, there are different types of energies at microscopic level. These are some of the known types of energies that we are discussing. But there are other types of energies which we don't know. Sometimes new types of energy are invented. Right? There are many things we still don't know about the atomic and subatomic interactions, energies, the kind of energies involved. It is not totally understood. The science is not totally, because we don't know to the extent the characterizations are available, techniques are available, we are able to find out. But beyond that, we are not able to. There are many energies are there which we don't know. Right? There are many things which we don't know. So like that, you can, if you see this, you can put together. You can sum up. If you call the epsilon as the internal energy, okay. So then you can write this as there is a different types of energies you can put together: translation kinetic energy, rotational energy, vibrational energy, chemical energy, electronic, nuclear, like that. You can go on adding, right? Then few more. We don't know what they are. So there is a reason this internal energy of the matter is not, you cannot precisely calculate, right? So there are some things which are unknown, right? Which goes on, this list goes on, right? Some things which you don't know. So that is the reason we don't know the exact amount of internal energy stored in the material. So that is the reason we don't know. Okay, we can only measure change in internal energy, not the exact amount of energy that is there. Okay, so sometimes we look at only change in internal energy, not the absolute internal energy. Okay, so that please keep in mind. If n is a total number of molecules in the system, suppose number of molecules in the mass is n, then total internal energy, that is what we saw in the previous slide, is energy associated with each molecule. For every molecule, you can write that equation. Right? Every molecule energy is equal to translation, kinetic, chemical, electronic, and then so on and so forth. Right? So then, if you sum up total internal energy, U is equal to n number of molecules into average energy. Right? Average energy epsilon. Right? So like this, you can get the total internal energy of the material. But this U is indeterminate. You cannot find out it. Exact value is not understood because we don't know what are the types of energies involved. This quantity is not still understood properly. This is fine. Number of molecules you can count, right? Technology is there, but this is number of different types of microscopic energies are not still understood properly. Okay, so therefore this is the accurate assessment of this value is not possible. Therefore, accurate assessment of this is not possible. In an ideal gas, there are no intermolecular forces. Suppose if you take ideal gas equation or the kinetic theory of gases that you have derived now in your first year or sorry, first year or second year of UC chemistry, they do it, derivation of this. So in that, what you do a lot of assumptions. You assume that the molecules or the gas particles are spherical in shape. They behave like an elastic balls. The collisions are perfectly elastic. Right? All these things we assume. So that is for an ideal gas. Okay. So in ideal gas, there is no interaction. Intermolecular interactions are not there. Two molecules will behave like an inert. They don't have any affinity for each other. But in reality, it's not like that. The molecules have some affinity, right? They do. There are some either there is an attraction or repulsion between two molecules. Okay, and the internal energy depends only on temperature. For ideal gas, internal energy depends only on a temperature. Okay, so when you ignore all kind of atomic and interatomic the interactions, intermolecular interactions, the energy can be for ideal gas. It can be thought to be dependent on internal energy can be thought to be dependent only on the temperature. So for an ideal gas, this internal energy, okay, is a function of temperature. You can write it as function of temperature, only function of temperature. It does not depend on, because all other types you are idealizing, you are ignoring all intermolecular interaction, repulsions, you are ignoring. So in the absence of those things, but in reality it is not like that. They are in reality two molecules interact. They have some affinity for them. They interact, right? They attract or repel each other. We are idealizing the system here. When it is ideal, internal energy is function of temperature. Even though we cannot quantify exactly what it is, this value, but for an ideal gas, we know that it is function of temperature. That we know. Okay, the U is function of temperature is a proven. Okay, U is a direct function of a temperature for ideal gas. If it is non-ideal gas, other than temperature, you have to include other terms here. Okay, so that we'll see in the last minute when we look at, right. It is not just temperature; other factors are also you have to consider. Okay, so here it is for ideal gas, it is only function of temperature. For only for ideal gases, this equation is valid only for ideal gases, not for a non-ideal gases. So keep in mind, whenever I write U is function of a temperature only, that is for a valid for only the ideal gases. So let us in thermodynamics we use lot of symbols. So just get used to these symbols. Okay. If you see A, these are all the Greek symbols we use. A is equivalent of alpha is equivalent of A in English. Okay, so there are so many symbols are used: alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, xi, omicron, pi, rho, sigma, tau, epsilon, pi, chi, psi, omega. So these are all the symbols we often use in thermal engineering. Very frequently we make use of these symbols. Even in design, mechanics of materials, they extensively use these symbols. So you should know how to pronounce these. Sometimes it's very difficult. Even after so many years, I find sometimes very difficult to pronounce some of the symbols. So please go through these symbols. Okay. So all I have listed here, you can just go through whenever you find time. Okay, clear? So these things are available in the internet. Whenever you find time, just go through. It is available in Google. You can look at this. Okay, let's move on to the next thing. We saw that there is something called internal energy. Internal energy is function of temperature for an ideal gas. Let's see what is further. So specific heat at a constant volume. So you have heard this word, specific heat at a constant volume. What is that? Can anybody say? Yes, please. Specific heat, have you heard word or not?
Yes, heard.
What it is?
The heat is increased by 1 degree of Celsius in constant volume.
So amount of heat required to increase the temperature of 1 kg of mass gas
Yes, that's
at a constant pressure, right? When pressure is
yes, sir.
constant. Hmm?
Yes,
So that's how you define it. But that definition is not correct. There is not thermodynamic is not correct definition. We have in thermodynamics different definition. So in
what is
thermodynamics we have different definition. The specific heat of a substance at a constant volume is defined as a rate of change of specific internal energy with respect to temperature when volume is held constant. Definition of the specific heat in thermodynamics, because heat is not property, but specific heat is a property of the system. Therefore, there is a proper definition is required. So mathematically, when you do treatment, mathematical analysis you need to do, then that definition is not correct. People came out with another definition. Specific heat of substance at constant volume is defined as what it is defined: a rate of change of specific internal energy. Rate of change of specific. Internal energy is what? Internal energy we know. Specific internal energy is internal energy per unit mass. Correct? Internal energy divided by mass. Internal energy symbol is U. Specific internal energy is small u. Small u is equal to capital U divided by mass. Okay. With respect to temperature, okay, rate of change of specific internal energy with respect to temperature when volume is held constant. So we represent this mathematically like this. CV is a specific internal energy at constant volume, right? So is equal to du by dt. Du by dt is rate of change of a u. What is u? U is specific internal energy, small u, dt dou u by dou t, or du by dt. Okay, it's to just make it generalized, we are writing it as dou u by dou t. Dou u by dou t is rate, correct? What is dou u by dou t? Rate. Like that, you have this velocity. How do you write it? Dx by dt, right? Distance, change in position. Dx by dt is a velocity. Like that, it is also rate here. So dt u, rate of change of dou u by dou t at constant volume. When at constant volume, that is given here. Mathematically, it is written like this. Is this clear? Expression is clear to you? Any confusion here? All that I have written line sentence here is explained by only one expression like this. Everything that I have written here, mathematically I write like this. This equation is explained in these 3 lines. Are you following it? Any confusion you have?
no, sir.
No, no? Okay. So in thermodynamics, we define a specific heat as the rate of change of specific internal energy with the temperature when volume is held constant. And mathematically, it is written as Cv is equal to dou u by dou t when volume is constant, right? Similarly, so if okay, before that, if I separate these variables and try to do the integration, so what will happen? So the change in internal energy delta U at constant volume will be this. If you take the other side, du is equal to dt into Cv. If you want change in internal energy, will be delta U. Okay, so then delta U is equal to integration of Cv into dt. Is this clear? This equation is clear. I have brought it from here. Any confusion here? Are you following it? Okay. So change in internal energy at constant volume can be written as integration of when temperature changes from T1 to T2. When temperature changes from T1 to T2, internal energy changes, right? So what is that? To find out that, I need to do integration of Cv into dt. Cv is constant. So Cv, if you take outside, you do the integration of dt. If you do the integration of dt, what will happen? Cv into T2 minus T1. Okay? That is how we find out the change in internal energy. Okay. Now, let us look at the first law of thermodynamics. First law of thermodynamics. What first law of thermodynamics says? First law of thermodynamics, Q is equal to E plus W, right? Yes or no? What is first law of thermodynamics? We wrote There are 4 equations for first law of thermodynamics for cyclic process, for the non-cyclic process. For non-cyclic process, we wrote a Q is equal to E plus W. So if I take ideal gas and there is no macroscopic energies are ignored, right? Kinetic, macroscopic kinetic energy, if mass is not moving, right? And mass is the gravitational field you are ignoring, elevation differences are you are ignoring, then what will happen? In that case, U will be equal to E will be equal to U, right? If you take that per unit mass, if you look at the heat transfer per unit mass, work transfer per unit mass, then we can write a small e. So are you following this equation? Where get this is first of thermodynamics I'm saying. Do you understand how do I get this equation? Are you getting this equation or not? This equation is clear. This is first law of thermodynamics. Correct? First law of thermodynamics we wrote Q is equal to E plus W, right? If I take differential form of that, differential form will be dq. dq is equal to dE plus dW. Instead of dE, I am writing a U because I am ignoring the bulk kinetic energy and the bulk potential energy. Then I have to write a U. U again I am taking this energies, all energies per unit mass. If I take it per unit mass, then I can write dq, amount of heat transfer per unit mass of the substance, amount of work done per unit mass of the substance, then amount of internal energy per unit, the specific internal energy. Okay, we can write like this. Or we can write it as in differential form, we can write it as a dq is equal to du plus p dv. This w dw, if it is differential form, delta, instead of writing delta u, I write it as du. Okay. If it is specific, actually I should write delta u plus delta u is equal to, so delta q is equal to delta u into delta w. I should have written. There's a mistake here. This equation you can change. Delta q or small change instead of or dq, if you write it, you can write it as du. Is this clear here? Are you getting me this? Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. Or I'll change this. There is some mistake. I'll change that. It should not have been. dq should not be there. Q is equal to. Yeah, now it is correct. Sorry. This is how I have to write. So Q is equal to du plus delta u plus W, right? Delta u means we have written already well. Delta E we wrote. So when you ignore the bulk kinetic energy and bulk potential energy, then it becomes a delta u for a unit mass. Okay. Is this equation clear to you now? There was a mistake. So in differential form, I will write it as dq. For a small change in for small heat transfer, there's a small change in internal energy. Then there's a small amount of work done, dw. Instead of dw, I write it as a pdv. Can I? dw can be written as pdv, right? Yes or no? Work done can be written as pdv, right?
Yes.
Are you following it? Is this clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if I write like this, then since I am taking unit mass, instead of dV, I will write it as a, instead of writing a capital V, I should write a dV, small v, because it is per unit mass. No? Everything is per unit mass. So instead of taking volume, I take a specific volume. Okay. So the differential equation must be dq is equal to du plus p dv, small v. Okay. Okay. Is that clear to you? This is a.
Yes, sir.
This equation is the equation for the first law for a small change in or small heat transfer. If there is a small heat transfer to a material, it will lead to the small increase in specific heat. Then there will be a small amount of work done by the material, may or may not. If the work is done, this quantity will be there. If there is no work done, suppose constant volume process is there, volume is not changing, then dq will be equal to du. Okay. For a constant volume process, what happens? As I have said here, it is constant volume process. Since volume is constant, this quantity must be zero, correct? So therefore, for constant volume process, dq is equal to du. For a constant volume process, dq is equal to du. So therefore, you can substitute this here. Instead of writing that change in internal energy, I can write it as a heat transfer, delta Q or Q. Okay, delta Q or Q. Okay, the heat transfer will be equal to the change in the internal energy. Okay, so at constant volume, the heat transfer is equal to change in internal energy. Heat transferred at constant volume increases the internal energy of the system. So at constant volume, if you transfer heat, it increases the internal energy of the system. All the energy transferred to system will lead to only increase in internal energy. No work is done. Okay. If heat is taken out of the system, then it leads to drop in internal energy, decrease in internal energy. Is this clear to you? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let us look at another definition, that is specific enthalpy. What is enthalpy? Enthalpy is defined as, enthalpy you have heard, no? Have you
Yes,
heard
sir.
word enthalpy? Enthalpy
Yes,
is
sir.
equal to H is equal to U plus PV is known as enthalpy. Internal energy plus pressure into volume is known as the enthalpy. Okay. So here it is specific enthalpy. What we have written here is specific enthalpy. Enthalpy per unit mass. Internal energy per unit mass. The pressure into specific volume. Volume per unit mass. Okay. So then H is equal to U plus PV is known as specific enthalpy. The enthalpy of a substance or a specific enthalpy of a substance H is equal to U plus PV. It is an intensive property of the system. The specific enthalpy is an intensive property of the system, kilojoules per kg. So we know the general gas equation, we know, no? PV is equal to RT. You know this equation? Have you seen this equation or not?
Yes, sir.
Same equation or slightly different?
Same equation.
Same. Where you have used it?
No, sir. No.
Huh? You use same equation in the PUC first year engineering? Is it same or different?
Same, sir.
Same.
Yeah, I thought.
Huh? Everybody says it's the same equation you have used earlier classes. PV is equal to RT or something different?
No, sir. PV equal to RT.
PV is equal to
NRT.
nRT, right? Pressure into volume into number of moles into R into RT, right? Here it is different. What is the difference? Instead of taking volume, I have taken specific volume. And this is known as a gas constant. That what you have taken is a universal gas constant. When you write in terms of moles, it is called universal gas constant. In thermodynamics, we use a P. If I in thermodynamics, what we use P into capital V is equal to mass M into R into T. That is known as R is known as characteristic gas constant. This is depends on the kind of gas you are using. Okay, M. That M, if I take this side, right? MRT is there. M I take this side. So that becomes V by M. V by M is specific volume. Okay. Pressure into specific volume is equal to characteristic gas constant into temperature. Is that clear to you? Is it clear? Can anyone respond?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if I take this equation, I can substitute here, right? So what I can write in this equation enthalpy, I have taken H is equal to U plus P. Instead of writing PV, I can write RT. Can I write like this? Okay. So I am substituting for PV. Since the internal energy of an ideal gas depends only on temperature, right? We have already said this U is dependent only on the temperature of the gas. Previous class, or an ideal gas. For an ideal gas, it is only function of temperature. Then you have H is equal to U, which is function of only temperature. Then R, which is a constant for a gas. For a given gas, it is constant. Then temperature, right? So that means U is function of temperature. This is also function of temperature. Therefore, H is also a function of temperature only for an ideal gas. Okay, therefore we write that H is a function of temperature. So the way U is function of temperature, H is also only function of temperature. Again, remember this is only for ideal gases, not for real gases. Okay. So total enthalpy is known as the H is equal, capital H is equal to M into H, mass into the specific enthalpy. Okay. Total enthalpy we use symbol H is capital H, which is equal to M, mass of the substance, into H. Okay. Is it clear? So for total enthalpy, we can write a total enthalpy is equal to total internal energy U plus P. Here we use capital V instead of using a small v. In this equation we use small v, right? Here we use capital V. Capital V is total volume. Small v is specific volume. Okay. P U H, total enthalpy. Is it clear to you? Anybody has any doubt? No? Good. Specific heat at a constant pressure. Specific heat at a constant pressure. Let us see. The specific heat at constant pressure is defined as the way we define specific heat at a constant volume. Similarly, we define specific heat at constant pressure. Specific heat at constant pressure is defined as rate of change of enthalpy with respect to temperature when pressure is held constant. In a specific heat at constant volume, what we said, rate of change of internal energy. Right here, this word. For specific heat at constant volume, instead of pressure, if I use volume, then what happens? Rate of change of, instead of enthalpy, I have to use internal energy with respect to the temperature when pressure is called. The pressure is constant for this. Volume is constant for a specific heat at a constant volume. Okay. Here pressure is constant. So like that we define. Mathematically we define it as Cp is equal to dou H by dou T. Rate of change of enthalpy with respect to temperature when pressure is constant. In previous slide we said V here, right? We wrote here. There V was constant. Here P is constant. So if I do the same mathematical manipulation, I can write change in the enthalpy is equal to at constant pressure. P indicates constant pressure. Change in enthalpy at constant pressure is equal to integration of Cp into dT. Okay. So now let us look at for constant pressure process. Okay. Applying first law of thermodynamics. If you apply first law of thermodynamics for constant pressure process, what will happen? Small heat transfer at constant pressure is equal to, will lead to the small change in internal energy plus work done. Right? There is a work done dW. So now let us, I say this PdV can be calculated for a constant pressure process. What is PdV for constant pressure process? What is work done in a constant pressure process? Anyone remembers that? Work done in constant pressure process. We have derived no equation for constant pressure process, for a constant volume process, for a isothermal process, for allotropic process. Work done in all four processes we have defined. We have derived. What is work done in a constant pressure process? Yes, anyone remembers? Nobody? What is work done in a constant pressure process? Any one of you, please? Are you listening to me? Are you there or not? You have to say something. If you don't know, at least you should say, we don't remember. Don't keep quiet.
Zeros.
Zero. Oh, it is man. You just do the integration. You have pen and paper with you. Write equation. Work done is equal to integration of PdV. Write equation. All of you do that. Work done is equal to integration of PdV. Right. So I'm saying constant pressure process. How will you do the integration? For a constant pressure process.
Constant. P is constant.
Take it outside. So integration of dV. What is the integration of dV?
1.
1.
P of V2 minus V1.
V1.
Integration of dv is
V2.
v. If you substitute upper and lower limit, it will be v2 minus v1. That is change in volume. Correct. V2 minus v1 is what? Change in volume. Right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Constant pressure process, work done is P into delta V. Change in volume. Okay. That we can write. Or since P is constant, you can take this inside. If I differentiate PV, I will get this, right? What is the differentiation of AX? A is a constant. What do you write? What is differentiation of D of AX? Are you getting me? Something you say. Is this correct? This substitution are you following or not?
Yes, sir.
Right? So since P is constant, I can write it as D of PV. Right? So then what is PV? Or I can write it as, instead of writing it D of du plus PdV, sorry, du plus B of PV, I can write it D of U plus PV. I can write like this. Can I write like this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What is U plus PV? U plus PV is enthalpy. We know that. I can substitute. So at constant pressure process, heat transfer increases the enthalpy. At constant volume process, heat transfer leads to increase in internal energy. In a constant volume process, heat transfer causes an increase in internal energy. In a constant pressure process, heat transfer leads to increase in enthalpy. Okay. So you can write like this. This can be written as a dq, heat transfer at constant pressure. Right. So change in enthalpy is equal to integration of heat transfer at a constant pressure. So heat transfer at constant pressure is equal to integration of Cp into dt. Okay. So how to find out a heat transfer at a constant pressure? See here, heat cannot be directly measured. Why we are doing all this exercise is heat cannot be directly measured. How to measure the heat? Heat can be measured only using temperature. Temperature is measurable. Heat is not measurable. Okay. So therefore, to get heat transfer, we need this equation will be very helpful. You must be wondering why this fellow is doing all these manipulations. He's just simply substituting. He says PdV, then he substitutes. So you must be wondering why this fellow is doing all right equations. Why I am doing this is heat is not measurable. Have you seen measurement of heat directly? You have done so many experiments in PUC, physics and all. Is there any experiment which gives you direct measurement of heat transfer? Say something, don't keep quiet. No, not possible. What is measurable is temperature is measurable. Therefore, we try to figure out a heat transfer by measuring temperature. Therefore, I want to write equation for Q in terms of temperature, because temperature is measurable, not heat is not measurable. Specific heat is measurable, right? This specific heat is available, property of the material, we can do that. Temperature is measurable. So from that too, you can calculate a heat transfer. Okay, to estimate heat transfer, it is necessary. For work transfer, direct measurement is possible. Work transfer we said, no? The movement of piston, like that we can do. But heat is not directly measurable. Heat transfer is not directly measurable. Heat transfer always you have to assess from a temperature change only. Heat transfer, work transfer is directly measurable. Heat transfer is not directly measurable. Okay, so please keep in mind. As a thermal engineer, you should not forget this. Okay? So CV and CP, specific heat at the relationship between CV and CP. What is the first one is specific heat at constant volume, other one is specific heat at a constant pressure. How they are related? So the enthalpy of a substance is H is defined as enthalpy of a substance H is equal to U plus PV. Correct? Clear? So now H equal to, instead of writing U plus PV, I write H is equal to U plus RT. We have seen this. So this H is equal to, in previous equation we have seen, H is what? H you can write a Cp into, see what is this? H is equal to Cp into dt, right? Change in enthalpy is equal to Cp into temperature, previous temperature. Cp is constant. If Cp, if you take outside, Cp into T2 minus T1. Suppose you take some reference temperature, right? We call temperature is 0. At 0, you consider enthalpy also 0. At 0 temperature, this is how we use. Normally, material enthalpy, amount of enthalpy in material is taken as 0 as a reference. Okay, but that doesn't mean absolute temperature, absolute enthalpy is 0. No, the absolute enthalpy is not measurable. Therefore, what we do, we consider we take reference, right, as the enthalpy at 0 degrees, right, is taken as 0, right? That does not mean absolute enthalpy is 0. Please keep in mind, it is only a reference, right? Height, we measure all the height from a sea level, correct? Okay, no, because we don't know bottom of the sea, right? How deep the sea is, we don't know. Therefore, all measurement heights are on earth measured with respect to sea level. Any measurement if you take, it is taken as from sea level. Sea level is taken as 0, but sea level is not 0, right? There is a earth below the sea, right? We can't do that measurement. Therefore, we take reference as a sea level. Sea level is taken as 0. Any measurement above sea level is taken as positive height. Any measurement below sea level is taken as negative height or a depth, right? Below sea level is called depth. Above sea level is called a height. Okay, like that. Similarly, here enthalpy is taken as at 0 degree, we take it as 0. So if I do that, then what will happen? This will, H will be equal to Cp into T, right? Because any temperature, for any temperature from 0, T1 is 0. If I take, instead of T2, if I put it as just any temperature, then the H will be equal to the Cp into T. That I have written here. Instead of writing the H, I write Cp into T. Similarly, I write Cv into T. Then plus RT. Okay. So if you take T common, T gets cancelled. Then what do you get? Cp minus Cv is equal to R. Cp minus Cv is equal to R. So don't forget this equation. We use this equation often and again. Okay. Cp minus Cv is equal to R. R is a characteristic constant. Or if you say R is equal to, if I take Cv common, right? Then what will happen? Cp by Cv, right? P by Cv minus 1. Okay. Cp by Cv known as gamma. Ratio of specific heats, we write it in the symbol gamma. If I substitute that, then what will happen? Cv will be equal to, if I take this is gamma minus 1. Then what will happen? Cv will be equal to R divided by gamma minus 1. Is this clear? Cv is equal to R by gamma minus 1. This derivation is clear to you or not? Yes or no?
Sir, explain 1 second.
Sorry?
Explain 1 second, sir.
1 second. Okay. So this is clear? Okay, we'll start from beginning. This equation is clear? H is equal to U plus PV.
Sir, that's clear, sir.
Okay. Now H is equal to H is equal to U plus RT. This is also clear, right?
Sir.
Is this clear now? H is equal to Cp into T.
Yes, sir.
Clear, right? Okay. What I am doing, T gets cancels, right? If I divide throughout, what will you get? Cp minus Cv equal to R, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now if I take Cv common here, the Cv take common, what will happen?
Cv.
Cv I take it outside. Then Cv, here the Cv 1 will remain.
Yes.
Here the Cp is there, I have to If I multiply this CV cancels and you get Cp minus Cv, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Cv, if I take common, I get Cp by Cv minus 1, right? Cp by Cv, ratio of specific heats is a constant again. For any material, if you take the ratio of specific heat is constant, okay? So that is equal to gamma. Ratio of specific heat is called gamma. So if I substitute gamma, this will be Cv gamma minus 1, correct?
Yes, sir.
So if I take this gamma minus 1 this side, it will become Cv will be equal to R divided by gamma minus 1. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So similarly, you can write a Cp equation for Cp. What I have done here for a Cv, correct? What I did here? Cv.
Cv.
Similarly, you do for a Cp. Do this from here, start from this equation. Cp minus Cv equal to R. Derive an equation for
Cv.
Cp. Cv I have done already here.
Yes.
Try to do all of you work out this. Quickly do that. 2 minutes, finish that. Right?
Yes, sir.
Did you derive equation Cp equal to?
R equal to
No. R equal to, okay.
Cp into Cv by Cp minus 1.
Minus 1. R is equal to Cp.
Sir,
If you
yes,
take
sir.
common, what do you get?
Plus 1, sir.
Not 1. 1 minus.
1 minus Cv by Cp. Yes.
Correct. Okay.
Ah.
So what is 1 minus Cp by Cv by Cp? I know Cp by Cv is gamma.
Yeah.
Correct. Cv by Cp will be
Beta.
what beta? Cp by Cv is gamma. Correct.
Yes, sir. 1 by
1 by gamma, right?
1 by gamma. Yeah.
Cv by Cp will be 1 by gamma. So write that. Substitute 1 by gamma. R is equal to Cp into bracket 1 minus 1 divided by gamma. Did you write?
Yes, sir.
Now simplify that gamma. 1 minus 1 by gamma will be what?
Cp is equal to R minus R by gamma. On.
No, don't do that, man. Don't multiply. Instead of 1 minus 1 by gamma, add them. That algebra you do. 1 minus 1 by gamma, if you simplify, what you get? You will get gamma minus 1 by gamma, right?
Sir.
Correct? Gamma minus 1 divided by gamma. Is that clear?
Yeah.
So then you write equation for Cp. Cp will be equal to
R into gamma.
R
into gamma.
Okay, R into gamma divided by
Gamma minus 1.
yes. Okay. So you'll get an equation for a Cp is equal to gamma into R divided by gamma minus 1. Okay. So all of you do this derivation. One I have shown, other one you have to do. Okay. Clear? So we can write an equation for a Cp and Cv in terms of a characteristic gas constant. Okay. Characteristic gas constant and this ratio of a specific heats. This is how they are related. Molar specific heats. Now what we have written is specific heat per unit mass. As I said in the previous class, amount of matter. How do you measure it? Amount of matter is measured in one way is mass, or other way is volume, or there is one more way is called a moles, number of moles or number of atoms, right? Amount of mass you can also specify in terms of number of moles of that particular matter, right? Number of moles means nothing but the number of atoms you want to count. Okay, so amount of matter, when you express in terms of moles, number of moles, then you get this molar specific heats, right? The specific heat CV is with respect to mass, per unit mass. Instead of writing it per unit mass, I can write it per unit moles, per kg mole, right? Specific heat, amount of heat required to raise temperature by 1 degree of a 1 kg mole material, like that, right? So those are quantities called a molar specific heats. Molar gas, then you have universal gas constant. When you take material in terms of moles, we don't use a characteristic gas constant, then we use the universal gas constant. Okay, so there are different numbers. Again, all these quantities will be expressed in terms of molar units, molar specific heats, molar gas, universal gas constant. Okay, so like that, molar enthalpy, molar entropy, so molar internal energy. Right? Internal energy we said, specific internal energy we said, in energy per unit mass. Instead of writing a per unit mass, you can write energy per unit per kg mole of substance, like that. Okay, so that we'll discuss in the next class. Okay, so shall we stop here? Everything is clear to you? Please go through this. This mathematics is very tedious. Please read the notes. Try to work out. You yourself solve it. Don't read the notes. Whatever notes I have given, never read it. You try to solve. How you get that? Step by step, try to solve it. Only then you will understand. Mathematics should never be read. You should not read a mathematics book. Mathematics book, you keep it open. Try to solve whatever they are. Try to write the paper. Only then you will understand. Okay. Is that clear to you? Oh, I forgot to save the class today. My God. Check. Oh, I saved. Fine. Save. Okay. Okay, is that clear to you? Shall we stop now? So we'll download the list and then we'll stop. If you have any questions, please ask. Otherwise, we can close this session. Any doubt you have?